I've never thought about becoming a professional footballer, to be honest, at the start. I was actually doing swimming, gymnastic, and tennis before football. Yeah, I was, scouted by a few Premier League teams. I faced a lot of racism, discrimination, because I was Asian. So I basically started off in 8th division. I started going up slowly, and I managed to get a professional contract in the 4th division.
Es decir, el 1 de noviembre a las 12 de la mañana.
I would go to 10-point tryouts and I wouldn't get into any single team. My name is Shota Sagara. I'm a professional footballer who's played professionally in Spain and Armenia recently. So funny story, I was actually doing swimming, gymnastic, and tennis before football or soccer. And I used to basically train every single day for swimming and tennis mostly. And then one day when I went to a tennis camp, the coach told me that I'm a better footballer than a tennis player. And I was like, oh, then I guess I want to do football. So because I was playing football in my school for fun, I wanted to actually start training. And actually, I wanted to go to a football team. So I joined this team called 700 Years Stadium Academy in Chiang Mai. And yeah, from there, rest is history. I basically quit every other sport and I started pursuing football. I was about, when I started actually taking football seriously, I think I was about 8 years old. And yeah, after that, I started joining more academies. I stopped going to 700 Year Stadium Academy and I went to different teams like Chiang Mai City, Chiang Mai FC, for example. And then after that, I moved to Bangkok because of my parents' job. And yeah, I've never thought about becoming a professional footballer, to be honest, at the start. But when I moved to Bangkok, I think it was my 2nd year in Bangkok, my coach told me that there was a tryout for Bangkok United. And I went just for fun because I was like, maybe I can join, if I was lucky. But there was about 500 to 600 people, so I wasn't very confident at that time. But on the first day, there was like a skill test. And we basically tested speed, like accuracy, all those necessities in football. And I somehow managed to get first place in my age group and 2nd place overall, including under 13 and under 15. And after that, I got into the team and I somehow became one of the best players there. And that's when I thought maybe football is something for me and maybe I'm actually quite good at football. So yeah, that's when I actually started really thinking about becoming a professional footballer. So when I first joined the academy in Chiang Mai, I did not speak Thai at all, and everyone didn't speak English, nor Japanese, obviously. So I didn't understand what the coach was saying at the start. I had no clue what everyone was saying. It was very hard for me at the start, but I mean, I was young. I learned very quickly, so I started understanding Thai. I couldn't speak it at that time, but I started understanding. And yeah, after that, it was quite fun actually because I made a lot of friends. Everyone actually was very nice actually, especially in Thailand. And yeah, everyone helped me a lot. But there were always a lot of challenges as a foreigner playing in Thailand, especially because there weren't many foreigners playing at the highest level in Thailand during my time, especially in the youth level. So, for example, when I first started playing football in Chiang Mai, I couldn't play in the Prime Minister Cup because I was in Thai. So that was like one of the biggest tournament at that time for my age group, but I couldn't play in those. And when I moved up the level and when I went to Bangkok United, for example, I couldn't play in the Thai Youth League because I was in Thai. So that kind of forced me to find somewhere else where I can actually start playing regularly. because I was playing in a lot of tournaments and international tournament, which was very good because we played against Premier League teams or like, national teams from Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, etc. So it was very good experience, but I basically got kicked out of Bangkok United because I couldn't play, even though I was playing in two-year groups above and everything. And I was confident that I was the best player there, but unfortunately, because I couldn't play in the Thai Youth League, I was basically useless and I was a waste of money. So after that, a team basically picked me up. And in the under-19s Thai Youth League, I was fortunate enough to be able to play. So even though I was 16 at the time, I was able to play with the under-19s in the Youth League, which was very fortunate. But after that, I felt a limit to how much I can play in Thailand because I couldn't play in most leagues. And after that year, under-19s league made a regulation where foreigners can't play again. So that's why I decided to go to Spain. And I was there for 5 years actually. And it was very difficult in Spain. Not just because of the football, but I faced a lot of racism, discrimination, just because I was Asian. And yeah, to them, every Asian are Chinese. So yeah, I got a lot of discrimination from it, discrimination from coaches, clubs. And yeah, I really struggled at the start, and especially because my agent wasn't very good at that time. And he promised me one thing and I didn't get it. So I basically started off in 8th division. So there are 9 or 10 division in Spain, and I started off at the 8th level, which is one of the lowest. Well, obviously the level is not too bad in Spain, even in the 8th division, which was really surprising. But yeah, I started going up slowly, and I managed to get a professional contract in the 4th division at the end. But yeah, to get to 4th division, it was very difficult. For example, if I was playing in a stadium, I got a lot of discrimination. I got a lot of, racial slurs set at me during the game by the fans, etc. So it was quite tough, but I actually enjoyed it at the same time because the fact that the fans are calling me names shows that they care about me and I'm actually making an impact in the game. So, I mean, if you look at it from a different angle, it might be, you can take it as a positive thing. And in Armenia as well, I faced a bit of discrimination. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad as Spain, but yeah, everywhere you go, there are a lot of problems being a foreigner. And especially if you go to the professional level, there's a thing called foreign quotas. So for example, if I want to play in Thailand, they can only sign 30 foreigners in T3 and 4 foreigners in T2, for example. So the path to finding a team is very narrow. So if I want to play in Thailand, I have to be 5 times, maybe 10 times better than the local players, right? So as a foreigner, it's very difficult to find a team, to find a place that you feel comfortable. So yeah, it gets quite difficult at times. Finding a coach that actually likes you or actually cares about you is very important as a professional footballer. For example, the reason why I was able to move up to the 4th division, for example, was because of the coach I was with in the 8th division. So you might not think, oh, this person's is necessary in my life, for example, just because they're in the 8th division. You kind of assume that he doesn't have a lot of skill as a coach. He doesn't have a lot of connection, but turns out he knew a lot of people, and he basically helped me get into the 4th division because he told me that I was too good for the league. And yeah, he really helped me to go up to the 4th division, and he really pushed me, which was why I was able to move up. And it's also important because as a professional footballer, you have to play a lot of minutes. If you don't play, if you sit on the bench, your value basically keeps going down, right? It doesn't matter how good of a player you are. If you're sitting on a bench, you're basically useless, right? So it's very important to find a coach who values you and understands how you play to be able to achieve greater things. And also it's very important you find a good agent that actually cares about you because there's a lot of agents nowadays, and you never know which one's good. And a lot of agents are going to contact you. They're saying they're going to help you, but in reality, they only care about money. So it's really important to find the agent that actually cares about you and wants you to actually succeed, not just the money. And in terms of players, a lot. When I went to the Spanish fourth division, for example, there were players who played in La Liga, in the second division, in Segunda, for example, and even players who play in the Champions League against like Cristiano Ronaldo. He played against Son, and because he played against Real Madrid, Tottenham, and Dortmund, I think it was. So 3 really big teams he played against. And those players had a lot of experience. I think playing in the fourth division was one of the toughest time in my life because of how demanding it was. And they were amazing players, but they weren't the nicest people. Let me get that straight. They were racist, they were very demanding, there's a lot of bullying and everything. But they really helped me as a player because they really pushed me. I mean, it might have been for a bad reason, but it actually helped me because I was demanded higher than everyone else, if that makes sense. For example, if someone makes 10 mistakes during training, no one complains because he's one of the main players in the team. But as a young Japanese player who has no experience at the highest level, if I make one mistake during training, they won't shut up about it, even after training, even in the locker room, or even the next day. So I had to focus maybe 200% every single training, because if not, they won't stop talking about you and they'll just try to drag you down. So at the start, it was very difficult, but towards the end, because I wasn't making a lot of mistakes, because I was actually very focused on every single training, and I started getting better because it made me want to become a better footballer, because I hated how I felt and how they were treating me. So I would train every single day after training. I was with the first team, but I would go down with the B team as well. So the first team would be training 6 times a week, and the B team will be training 3 times a week. So I was going to 9 training sessions every week because I wanted to get better and I wanted to push myself to the limit. So that really, really helped me. And my confidence level was very low at that time because of how I was treated. But when I went outside of that team and I went for a different trial in a different team, I realized how much better I've gotten compared to other players because of everything that I went through. So the players around you are very important, because depending on the players that are around you, they can actually push you to become a better player, even without you realizing. So the environment, the coaches, agent, everyone's very important. So make sure you surround yourself with good people, but also challenging people, because that's when you improve the most, I think, in my opinion. It was, even in Thailand, when I first started playing football, it was very difficult because of the demand, because I'm a foreigner and I have to perform better. And for example, when I was in Bangkok United, I had to be 10 times better than them, because otherwise there were basically no reason for them to keep me, because I couldn't play in the Thai Youth League and only in the international tournaments, which only happen every few months. But by performing a higher level than everyone else, I was able to jump a level, and I would be playing with 1 year above, 2 years above, maybe even 3 years above at times. So after that, before going to Spain, I've actually gone to different countries for a short period of time. I always focused on being the best player wherever I go. So when I went to Argentina, I was 15 at that time, but I was playing with adults, with the first team of a team that was in Argentina. And I was able to perform at quite a high level, and I was able to play against adults, like professional adults in Argentina, because of how I basically pushed myself in every training in Thailand, because I was always demanded more. And when I played in the international tournaments, I got scouted by a few clubs, and I didn't get into those teams because of the visa problems in the UK and the FIFA law because I was under 18s. But yeah, I was, scouted by a few Premier League teams, and because I was performing and I was pushing myself to become better than everyone else. So without me realizing, I was able to become a better footballer, even though I was doing the same thing as everyone else, if that makes sense, because of how I concentrated, how I showed myself. But when I went to Spain, it was quite difficult because Spanish football is completely different from anywhere else in the world. It's very tactical. And yeah, the skill-wise, maybe Thai players or Japanese players might be better. But the tactical understanding of the Spanish kid is next level. So for me, I was very technical. I was very good at holding the ball when I was younger. But when I went to Spain, even though I could do it, the coaches didn't like it. They wanted me to understand where to be on the pitch. And every time I had the ball, I basically had 3 options to pick from, if that makes sense. So I started playing 1-touch, 2-touch football, and all my strength, all the parts that I was very confident in when I was in Thailand or when I went to the UK, for example, or Argentina, it completely disappeared because the coaches weren't looking for it. So it took a bit of time for me to adapt to that kind of playing style because they weren't appreciating my skills that I had and the technical ability because they cared more about the football IQ, which I thought was high, but the Spanish players were above that, basically, one level above me. So even though I was technically better, I basically in 2 years, maybe I went to 20 tryouts. And sometimes I couldn't even find a team for 6 months. I would go to 10, 20 tryouts and I wouldn't get into any single team, even though I felt like I was better than everyone else. So for me, that was a huge setback, and it was very tiring and mentally draining for me. And I lost a lot of confidence because I thought that I wasn't good enough, because I've never been through not getting into a team or not being the best player on the team, for example. So it was very, very difficult for me because I knew I could play at a higher level, but I couldn't even get into a team of a low level just because of my playing style. I actually caught up, I caught Spanish very quickly. I understood everything after 6 months. So I feel like language wasn't as big of a problem as maybe other players, because I know a lot of foreign players that struggle a lot when they go to a different country because of the language barrier. But for me, luckily, I didn't have much problem with the language, and especially because the first team I joined, which was a youth team, I only joined for a few months just because COVID happened, but was actually an ex-coach of Buriram, a Thai team, and he was a Spanish coach, and he spoke English, which was very lucky for me because it was my first year in Spain and I didn't really understand Spanish at that time. So yeah, I was very lucky in that sense. But yeah, I don't think it was a language barrier thing. It was what the coaches were looking for. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're a good player. If the coach is not looking for that kind of player, they don't want you. So that's what I didn't understand at that time. It wasn't because of me. It was because of what the team wants and what the coach wants, if that makes sense. So I just wasn't a good fit. And when I actually found a coach that understands me and values me, I was playing every single minute. I was the best player on the pitch. And that's why I was able to move up the ladder, even though I might have not gotten into 20 teams, if that makes sense. I feel like I've faced more setbacks than an average footballer because I'm a foreigner and I've never played in my country, for example. But yeah, I feel like my weakest attribute is my mentality, because yeah, sometimes I lose confidence. There's a lot of ups and downs in my performance sometimes. It used to be worse. Now I've gotten a lot better because I got a mental coach. So I would basically talk to him maybe twice a month, for example, and we would do like exercises. It's almost like a therapy, but for sports. And it actually helped me a lot. especially when I was in the fourth division in Spain, because it was very, very mentally and physically demanding. And I did not feel very good because I was in a very small town in Spain as well, so there weren't a lot of distractions. So, for example, when I was in Madrid, if I didn't have a good day, for example, I would go have coffee with my friend or something, or go shopping, or just walk around the center. But when I was in that team, the town was literally, yeah, you could walk across it in maybe 30 minutes. So it was a very small town. There was nothing to do. There weren't any cafes or anything. So you had a lot of time to think. So we trained in the morning, and the whole afternoon I had time to think about what I did wrong during training, or what someone said about me during training. So I had a lot of time to think. So it was very, very, very difficult. That's when I decided to hire a mentor coach. And after that, I mean, obviously I went through maybe 3 or 4 mentor coaches, because like psychological things, there's sometimes the mentor coach is not for you. It might be for someone else, but not for me. So that kind of happened, and it was basically try and error and trying to find the right mental coach. And I feel like I've found my match, and yeah, I feel like I've gotten a lot better mentally, and there's not much wave, like ups and downs with my performance nowadays. So basically, yeah, when I was younger, I would go to school, and I usually had training in the evening. So it was quite easy. I'll do my homework before I go to training, for example, or after training. And like I said, I left Thailand when I was 17. So I was grade 11. So I had 1 year of high school left. And when I moved to Spain, I graduated high school in Barcelona, actually. So I moved to Spain. I would join their international school. And this international school had a specific program for athletes. So if I have training in the morning, for example, I only have to go in the afternoon. And I have to go a certain amount of time to school so I can so I can graduate. And all the studies were online, actually. So there are modules, and I have to basically complete every single module. And I had to take six subjects, or 6 to 9 subjects, I think it was. And if I complete everything in the time span, then I basically get the graduation certificate. And at that time, I think it was an American system. I think it was called Florida Virtual School. And the program was basically AP. And yeah, I think it was a great program for me. And I was able to concentrate on football because I didn't really have to worry about school. So if I have time to go to school, I'll go to school. If I have training, I'll go after training. So it was actually quite an interesting program. And I basically stopped studying for a bit because I was taking coaching courses, because when I was in Spain, I had to get a student visa because unless you go to maybe third division, not many clubs would pay for your visa. So yeah, I decided to do coaching courses because it was short and I could get the visa, and it's quite cheap as well. And obviously I love football, so maybe in the future I want to become a coach. And I was interested in coaching as well. So I took the first level and the second level, which is basically the C and B license. And after that, I felt like I wanted to go to university, especially because I love sports science and I wanted to learn about, what I can do to improve my performance. And I felt like by studying sports science, I could improve on every single attribute in sports, and I could understand and actually use it for my own good, not just to study, but yeah, it was just basically like self-studying for me, because everything that I learned in university goes straight back to me, and it helps me directly, if that makes sense. So yeah, it wasn't very difficult for me, and especially because it was online, it's not very demanding. So basically, I go to Open University. So what that is it's similar to the high school thing that I did, but there are different modules. I basically have to read through the article or the module basically, and I have a little quiz at the end, and I'll do the quiz. That's not marked. And for each year, there's about 4 written assignments. So it would be like essay type exam. And there's going to be 2 exams, which is usually multiple choice or all those kind of stuff. And it's fully online. So I would not have to go to the actual university. There's no lectures. So I wouldn't have to join a lecture. It's literally, you can do it whenever you want. If you have a whole day off, then you can basically finish maybe 3 or 4 modules, because it's basically just reading. So it's completely self-study. I've never met my professor. I've never talked to my professor. Yeah, so it's a very interesting course, because you don't know your professor. You might get a few emails from them and they might mark your thing, but you've never talked to your professor. You've never seen your classmates. And apparently my classmate, the age gap is insane. So basically I'm 22. There are people who are 18 years old, and there might be people who are 70 years old who's retired and has nothing to do. So they decided to join the Open University just to kill time and study something, you know? So yeah, it's a very interesting course, and I really recommend it, especially for athletes. In my opinion, as a professional footballer myself, becoming a professional footballer is not the hardest part. It's after that's the most challenging. So yeah, if you're a good player, you might sign a professional contract. For example, in Japan, after high school, there are players who get scouted by J League teams. Or this year, there's a player in the high school who got scouted by Southampton in the Premier League, and he's going directly to Southampton. I'm not sure if he's going to be with the first team or the under 23s. But yeah, getting there, it's amazing. That's one of the best things that can happen in your life. But staying in those professional league is the hardest part. So yeah, for example, myself, I was playing in Armenia. The conditions weren't good, so I basically said I don't want to stay here, and I terminated my contract. But now I don't have a team, for example. I'm still trying to find a team, and it's not about my profile. It's not about my level, I don't think. It's about having no request for a center mid, because I'm a center mid, and every single Thai team is not looking for a center mid, for example. And players who don't have the profile that I have, who's come from an amateur team or whatever, just because they're a striker or a winger or 6 foot tall, they can get into a team, right? So as a professional footballer, it's normal that you're a good player. That's the bare minimum. But there's also luck. There's also connections. There's many factors that go into it. So it's mentally very difficult, because you basically don't have like a promised future. For example, if you join a company, you're going to be there for a few years. If you wanted to, you might get a different offer, and you might, or you might get a pay raise, or you might go up in ranks or something. But in football, it's not like that, Most professional footballers get a 1-year contract. If you're not good enough, you might get kicked out in 6 months, and you don't have a team after that, for example. So you have to be prepared. You have to be mentally very, very strong. And from a young age, especially for young players, just because you're the best player in your team, you should not get comfortable, and you should always be aiming to be better, if that makes sense. Because I feel like I've made that mistake before, because there are millions of players who are better than you. Even if you're the best in the country, there are players who are better than you, or is very, very close. They might not be better than you, but if you get too comfortable, they'll go above you without you even realizing, So make sure you put 100% into every training. Do some extra work if you have the time. Focus on your studying, because no future is guaranteed in football. You might be the best player in the world, for example, played in like the biggest team like Man United or Barcelona, and because they weren't able to play, they were sitting on the bench for a few seasons or something, your value goes downhill, and you won't be able to find a team. So make sure you put 100%. Even if you're not the best player, it doesn't matter. If you keep putting 100%, even if you don't realize it, there are so many chances that might come to you. If you get caught watching by the right person, you might be able to jump up a level. It doesn't matter if you're not the best player in the pitch, because if a coach sees what he likes, then he's going to take you. So just make sure you put 100%. You never know who's watching, and football is all about luck. So even if you have 10 good games, if you have one bad game and a scout's watching that one game, then you've lost your chance. So you gotta focus on putting in 120% every single match, every single training, because yeah, you never know who's watching. You never know who might be able to help you. For example, I went to play futsal with a bunch of old guys, and one of the guy knows everyone in Thailand, and he's trying to help me, for example, and he knows the owner of this team and that team, and he can connect you with those kind of people. So if you're performing at your best, maybe someone's watching. If you're lucky, you might get connected to someone. So yeah, just put 100% every single training. Yeah. I've been coaching myself as well. I've been a coach in a few countries. I've coached in Japan, I've coached in Thailand, I've coached in Spain as well. So I've seen a lot of, the grassroots levels in Asia and in Europe as well. And I've seen a lot of differences. And in different countries, they have different grassroots system. For example, in Thailand, there's not really one league that everyone plays in. There are small leagues that a lot of academies make themselves. So, and it's completely divided between, the Thai academies and the international academies, for example. And each of those have different small leagues. So there's not one big tournament or one big league, like a nationwide league or anything. Whereas in Spain, there's a league starting from under 8s. So under 8s, there would be Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, etc. And there will be promotion and relegation starting under 8. So for each age group, there are league system, same like the professional, you play every weekend. And if you win, you get 3 points. If you lose, you get 0, and then you basically play a league. If you're good enough, you might go to a league above. You can go on tryouts to a different team. And yeah, depending on the level, you'll be playing in Division 1 or Division 2 or Division 3. And in Division 1, there's like Real Madrid, those big names, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. And it's separated into regions. So like the Madrid region, the Catalonia region, and the Andalusia region. And if you win in the Division 1, there's a small tournament and you'll play against the first or second place from each region. So it's basically the same as professional. So from a very young age, they know how to compete. They know winning matters. So they become mentally very, very strong. And there's a chance. So if you're a good player in Thailand, for example, and if you're playing in a not very good team, it's very hard to find a better team and join them, because you don't know which team is good, because in each team there are good players and bad players, if that makes sense. But in Spain, because there are divisions, if you're in Division 1, if you join, it doesn't matter which team you join, they will be at a very good level. Obviously, Real Madrid might be first, or Barcelona might be first, but even the small teams that's in Division 1 would be very, very good level. But if you're not as good as them, maybe you can join Division 2. If Division 2 is too hard, you got Division 3. So there's a team for everyone that's right for your level. In Thailand, they don't have that. Even if you're the best player there, and you might be the best player in Thailand, if you're not in a very good team, you're going to stop improving. Right? Whereas in Japan, it's not as structured as Spain, for example, because in Spain they have under 8s, under 10s, under 12s, under 15s, and under 19s. But in Japan, it's separated into like primary school, middle school, and high school. So for example, in Spain, Lamine Yamal, everyone knows him, playing for Barcelona. When he was 15, he was playing in under 15s, but he was able to play in under 19s as well, and he was able to play with the B team, and he was also able to go to the first team. But in Japan, there's nothing like that, because primary school has their own, football clubs, but they might not have a first team, or they might only have the team in the primary school category. They might not have a middle school category. So what most Japanese people do is join an academy till they're in grade 5. When they graduate, they move to a different team. They might go on a tryout, and they'll join there. And after they graduate middle school, they'll go to a different high school team, where they might join a high school team, right? So even if you have the level to play in J League when you're first grade of high school, you're not able to go because you have to wait till you graduate high school until you get scouted by a J League team, for example. So it kind of limits your level. Even if you join, if you join a J League academy, for example, there's a chance that you might be able to make your debut at 17 or 16, for example, if you're very lucky. But I think that's the reason why in Spain there are players who are 15, 16 making first team debut, but in Japan you barely see that. You only see maybe the youngest might be like 18 or 17 years old making first team debut. So I think that's the biggest difference in Asian football culture and European football culture. So I feel like, from Japan, there's a lot of successful players coming out of high school or even university. Mitoma came out from university. They're a player who gets scouted by Premier League team from high school, like this year. This was the first time that's ever happened, but now it's happened. It's a possibility now, so I think it's a very good option. And I'm not saying what's right and what's wrong. There are talents that come out of Japanese system could possibly become one of the best players in Europe or in the world, basically. Like Mitoma is doing amazing in the Premier League. He's one of the best players in the Premier League. There's Shinji Kagawa, who's won Bundesliga Best 11, who's won the Premier League. So there's no right or wrong, as long as you're putting in 100% in whatever environment that you are in, right? Everyone has their own timing. Your timing might be when you're 15. It might be when you graduate high school. It might be after you graduate university. I think it's the same in the US, There's the draft after college, and that might be your breakthrough. Maybe you have to spend a year in the USL Championship, and then you somehow get scouted by MLS, and you might go up. Or, like me, I would go to Spain, and then, start from the 8th division, go up, and then I went to Armenia, for example. I've never expected me to go to Armenia. There's no right path in football. So you just have to accept where you are at the moment and just put in 100%, like I said before. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.